is 1:32. We're here at the PUB Annex Building. It is April 29th, and we are going to have our Finance Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Any public comments? No public comments. Okay, then we'll go on to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is presentation discussion of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board Financial Performance Report for the period ending March 31st, 2026. David?
Chairman Villarreal, members of the Finance Committee, I'm David Medrano. I serve as Director of Finance for Brownsville Public Utilities, and I will be reporting out on the financial performance through the period ending March 31st, 2026. Let's see. So first, we've got the executive summary. It is a dashboard of 7 financial categories. Each of those categories has its own gauge. Red represents an opportunity for improvement. Yellow represents an expected level of performance or within that performance range. And green is better than planned. The first category is the flow of funds. This is outlined a little further on slide 4, which I'll be going over shortly, but at a high level, adjusted gross revenues came in at came in a little lower due to a lower FPEC rate. Year to date, $3,064,494 has been generated to replenish the improvement fund. The debt service coverage is at 1.95 times or 1.93 times, which is well above the 1.25 minimum that we require. The second category on here is fuel and purchased energy costs, which as of in March were 3.478 cents per kilowatt hour. FPEC has generated an over-recovery of $20,460,000 as of March 31st, and this will be used to offset future market uncertainty. And this item is noted on your slide 8 of your presentation. The next category is the City of Brownsville cash transfer, which was higher than budgeted due to a lower FPEC rate, and this is shown in slide 23 and 24, which is line 22 on those slides. The next category is personnel and non-personnel expenses, which came in lower than budgeted primarily due to current vacancies and also related to some timing issues. These are noted on slides 5 and 6. Non-personnel expenses are noted in detail on slide 15, line items 9, 10, and 11. The next category is the BPUB average bill, which was lower than both the average MOU bill and the average IOU bill. For the month of March, BPUB's average bill was $95.83, and this is shown on page 8. And this level was 21% below the average MOU bill and 35% below the average IOU bill. Next category is the capital improvement plan. And year-to-date, actual and committed totals $28.7 million and $28.3 million respectively, which represent 63.6% of the fiscal year 2026 approved plan. And both of those items are listed on column F and I of your slide 9 in your package. The good news is that all financial key metrics are currently in compliance. These are noted in detail on your slide 11 in your package and include cash on hand, debt service coverage, and debt capitalization, among others. Let's see. The next slide, which is your slide 7, is the detailed components of operating revenues, operating expenses, and non-operating revenue are detailed further in your package on some slides further back in your package. But at a high level, we have those particular items on a year-over-year comparison. For purposes of this presentation, I'll be going over the period through March 26th of this year, of this fiscal year. First up is operating revenues, which through March 26 were $106,557,097. These items are reflected further in your presentation in detail. Less operating expenses of $93,280,107 leaves us with an operating income of $13,276,990. From that, we deduct non-operating expenses of $8,000,000 $788,572, which leaves us with an income before capital contributions of $4,488,418. We have capital contributions of $10,490,832 for a change in net position of $14,979,250. To that, we add the net position at the beginning of the fiscal year for a net position at the end of March 2026 of $805,791. And this presentation has been prepared in accordance with GAAP. Any questions so far? All right. Next up is the summary of revenues and expenses, or what we call the flow of funds. And this presentation has been prepared in accordance with the bond ordinance. We show budget to actual for purposes of this presentation today. I'll be going over year-to-date actual. Operating revenues, we had $99,955,332. Other revenue of $13 million and change, for total gross revenue of $112,959,072. Less fuel and SRWA expenses of $31,268,843, which leaves us with adjusted gross revenue of $81,690,229. And this line item represents the basis for the 10% transfer to the City of Brownsville. From the adjusted gross revenues, we deduct other O&M, non-operating expenses and debt service items of $67,718,624 for a balance available after requirements of $13,971,605. From that, we deduct the cash transfer to the City of Brownsville of $8.169 million, leaving us balance available for internal transfers of $5.802 million. From that, we reduce it by the internal transfers of $2.738 million, leaving us with an improvement fund replenishment of $3,064,494 for total transfers of $5,802,582 and a debt service coverage ratio of 1.93 times. So that concludes my presentation for the period through March 2026.
Very good. Any questions?
None for me.
Okay,
No.
All right, thank you.
thank you. Next item. Presentation discussion on year-to-date CIP delivery performance as of March 31st, 2026.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is David Ramirez. I'm the acting Director of Water Wastewater Operations. I'm also overseeing asset management and CIP delivery. All right. So I'll be going over the fiscal year 2026 CIP company-wide planned cash flow versus the actual cash flow year-to-date through the end of March. We'll review the planned versus actual expenditure variance from a project dollar size perspective, and then we'll review the planned versus actual expenditure variance from a company division perspective to see how each category impacts the overall company-wide CIP. This graph represents the combined CIP performance for all projects in the company through the end of March. As we can see, the overall company-wide CIP is underspending by about $13 million from the original plan. The gap or variance is expected to be reduced somewhat in the next months to about $10 million. However, the final end number is not expected to match the original budget due to a variety of causes that we'll discuss in the next slides. We currently expect the final CIP expenditure number to be in the vicinity of $68 million at the end of September. If we analyze the budget variance impact on the company CIP by project size, we see that there are two main categories of projects that have the largest impact. One of those categories is those projects ranging in size between $100,000 and $500,000. These types of projects represent 42% of the total number of listed projects in the CIP and have a variance impact of negative $5.8 million. The other category with a high variance of negative $6 million is projects, larger projects, larger than $1 million, which represent about 10% of the listed projects in the CIP. This is another graphical representation of the project size versus variance perspective. Each bubble here represents a CIP project. The size and location of the bubbles corresponds to the size of the project in dollars. To the left, we have the smaller projects. To the right, we have the larger projects. If the project's on track, it would show here located right on the horizontal baseline indicated by the green box there. If the project is ahead of schedule or ahead of spending, it will show above this line or on the blue zone. And if the project is behind schedule, it will be below that line. From this representation, we see how projects between $100,000 and $500,000 shown here inside the red bracket individually do not have a large impact, but because there's a lot of those projects in that category, the impact adds up significantly. Additionally, we can see the large dollar projects shown here in the larger red bracket. They tend to be better managed. They're closer to the planned schedule horizontal baseline, but the few that fall behind have a larger impact on the overall CIP due to their sheer size in dollars.
Just a quick question. You have the color for no planned expenditures this month and behind in expenses seems to be exactly the same. Maybe there's a slight shading difference. Can you point one out where there are no planned expenses this month?
Planned expenses. Which two colors? That was the non-planned expenses, and which other one?
And the behind in expenses, they.
I think
pretty
it's the
much
way
the
it's
exact
shown.
same.
The shade's a little different. The behind expenses is the darker tan color. Those are the ones that we can actually see here in this graph. The other ones are not really visible here.
Might
So
want to just use a different color next time.
we will.
Yeah.
I have a question too. Is there anything on the Ocelot substation? Can you remind us why that's so under?
Yes, sir. There, in that particular instance, there's been delays in equipment being delivered. That was one of the main causes relayed to us by the project managers and directors that large dollar equipment that was supposed to be delivered at a certain schedule, it's behind from the supplier. We'll talk about those, but that's one of the main causes for delays on projects. Equipment supplier delays. The other one being some issues with executing contracts that were expected to be done, turn around in a certain amount of time, and it took longer than expected. Okay. So now let's look at the project performance by each division or branch. Based on the best information available today, these are the projected percentages of budget expenditures that we expect by the end of this fiscal year by division. Obviously, the larger the division CAP budget, the larger its performance impact on the company-wide budget. For example, we think that by the end of the fiscal year, the Water Wastewater Engineering Division will have spent 73% of its CAP budget. The Water Wastewater Engineering Division has the largest CAP budget, and its impact on the overall CAP is also the largest. Currently is projected to deliver about $24 million in projects and also underspend about $9 million by the end of the fiscal year. In comparison, other departments that are projected to deliver a lower percentage of their CAP budgets, but because their budgets are lower, their impact is much smaller in the overall company-wide performance. So those percentages here in black represent what we think is where each division is going to be by the end of September with respect to the expenditures of their budgets. In order to help company divisions and project managers reduce the variance on their projects in an efficient manner, we look to focus on the issues that have the largest impact. One approach to help visualize this is by using the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle, which is the idea that a small number of causes usually are responsible for the majority of the outcomes. This Pareto chart helps us visualize the vital few problems or the few project delay causes that have the largest impact on the company's CAP variance. Checking in with directors and project managers about the causes of delays for their CAP projects, we got the following responses. Equipment supplier delays, contract review or execution delays, contract performance issues, design delays, project cancellations, projects put on hold, invoice processing, and project change of scope. From this chart, it's evident that the first two causes, supplier delays and contract execution delays, stand out as the most impactful when it comes to the overall company budget variance. We plan to continue to work with division directors and project managers to identify areas of improvement, including project planning skills, to get a better handle on the CAP variance looking ahead. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 3, presentation discussion on grant activity update.
Good afternoon, committee chair and members. I am Miriam Suarez, Senior Grants Coordinator based out of the Finance Division, and I'm here today to provide you with an update on our grants portfolio. I begin with a snapshot of our portfolio, which is divided into 3 categories, as you can see in the first tile. We have submitted funding requests, which include applications that have been submitted to funding agencies and we're awaiting a decision. And we have 7 applications in queue. The second category is the awarded and pending, which are projects which we've received notice of awards for, and we're in negotiation with the funding agency, and we're pending a signed agreement. And we have 6 projects in queue. And then lastly, the third category is the active or ongoing projects, which include 7 projects at various stages of completion. The next 2 tiles include data on 2 of those categories, which are the submitted funding requests and the awarded and pending. And so currently, we have about $83.6 million of grant awards in the pipeline, with the 2 biggest projects or biggest awards are for Banco Morales and indirect potable reuse, which were a recent award by the Texas Water Development Board through House Bill 500. The total project costs for these 2 categories include 13 projects and $132.7 million in project costs, with a federal and state match of approximately $83.7 million or 63%, and a local match of $49.1 million or 37%. This next slide includes a recap of each of the categories with a bit more detail, and we are waiting again for response for about $19.1 million in submitted grant applications. We have about $52.8 million in the awarded and pending category. And so in the grant-funded active projects, we have about $30.8 million. And we have about 2 projects that are slated to be completed at the end of August. And the majority of the remaining projects will be completed mid-year 2027. And so by that time, we'll have all of the projects in the awarded and pending agreement become active. And lastly, we have an overview of the potential grant opportunities, which we're working with various departments to determine whether we submit a grant application. Right now, we're looking strategically at BRIC for SRWA, the Water Supply and Infrastructure Grant, with water wastewater engineering for a water line loop, the drought response program for potentially a Resaca project, and then the deed grant through APPA for the AMI data lake. And so we do ask these departments to prioritize projects that are listed in the CIP so we can ensure that we can provide that local match. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next item, number 4, presentation discussion on water and wastewater charge comparison.
Good afternoon, Chairman Villarreal and members of the committee. My name is David Medrano. Again, I serve as Director of Finance here at PBUB, and I'll be presenting the water and wastewater residential inside city charge comparison. We have traditionally provided residential electric bill comparisons as part of the monthly financial reports, but don't provide the water and wastewater bill comparisons. Last year, at the request of a board member, we compiled an annual report out on water and wastewater charge comparisons, and today's presentation is this year's annual report out. So when comparing bills across communities, there are many factors that impact our water and wastewater rates. A list of those more important factors are listed here on this slide, and they include the infrastructure investment, obviously the age and conditions of the existing pipes, regulatory compliance, operational costs for labor, energy, chemicals, and maintenance, debt levels and future investments, and general fund transfers as well. One item on here that is not listed is the rate structure of a municipality. That can also have an impact on an organization's rates. For example, some may have escalating structures, or some may have component for low-income subsidies. So these do all affect the water and wastewater rates. So bill comparisons alone don't always tell the full picture. Factors listed are those which play a vital role in setting rates correctly. So a case in point, on this slide we show water and wastewater utility statistics with other communities in the Rio Grande Valley. On the left-hand side of the slide, we compare the number of customers and the miles of water transmission and distribution lines. BPUB is by far the largest, and we service approximately 56,200 customers with 2,909 miles of water lines. Next closest is McAllen with approximately 53,000 customers, but with just 520 miles of water lines. This is a reflection of Brownsville geographic area, which is more expansive than McAllen and other communities in the RGV. The same pattern exists when we're comparing wastewater utility statistics, which is on the right-hand side of this chart. Brownsville serves approximately 57,000 customers with 919 miles of wastewater lines and 169 lift stations, whereas McAllen serves 46,600 customers and has 725 miles of water lines and 58 lift stations. Factors that impact our utility bill relate to infrastructure, operational cost, and geographic factors. So on this,
Something seems really weird about that graph. Do you mind if you go
Sure,
back?
sure.
And just something about the data. If you look at McAllen, I would expect it to have a super high population density, and that's why we have such low use of small amount of lines, miles of lines, sorry. However, if you look at the wastewater, it tells a completely different story. I'm not sure, maybe it's just an artifact of what happened, but it's worth double checking those numbers because it just seems like there's a heck of a mismatch.
okay, we can do that. We felt our data was correct, but we will certainly.
Worth checking.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Or maybe we're really inefficient with how we run our lines, which is also an option, but yeah.
So on this slide, we have a comparison of water charges. BPUB's average water bill of $36.46 is approximately 34% below the state average of $55.09. But it is higher than other neighboring cities. But it's also important to note two major distinctions between BPUB and other municipalities apart from the factors we noted on slide 2. First, BPUB has a majority ownership in SRWA and reverse osmosis plant, which produces approximately a third of the city's water needs. The reverse osmosis process is more expensive than traditional treatment of river water. However, other municipalities are dependent solely on river water, while the strategic investment BPUB made in SRWA provides redundancy and resiliency, which serves to ensure long-term water security for the Brownsville community. Secondly, BPUB is the only municipality supporting a Resaca program in our water utility. As of this presentation, the bill includes a $6.25 Resaca fee to support the Resaca program for ongoing dredging operations of BPUB's critical waterways and reservoirs. The water utility is very capital intensive and has a 5-year capital improvement program of $88.7 million and generates $42.5 million in gross annual revenue. On this slide, we show cost to treat water. The cost to treat water at the 2 wastewater treatment plants for fiscal year 2025 was $1.31 per 1,000 gallons, while the treatment of brackish groundwater was $2.86 per 1,000 gallons. Treating the brackish groundwater is a little over 2 times more costly. However, here again, the strategic investment provides redundancy and resiliency. SRWA treated 2.6 billion gallons of water in fiscal year 2025, representing again slightly over a third of the city's water needs. On this slide, we show the wastewater charges comparison. BPUB's average bill of $36.46 is 33% below the state average of $55.09. But higher than other neighboring cities. The wastewater system includes 2 wastewater treatment plants with a combined primary and advanced secondary capacity of 27.3 million gallons a day. So here we present the monthly Inside City of Brownsville bill comparison on a combined basis for water and wastewater charges, based on 5,000, just a flat 5,000 gallons of monthly consumption. BPUB's average wastewater bill of $71.28 is 25% below the state average of $95.64, but higher than other neighboring cities. Our graphic reflects many cities within the RGV, along with some bigger cities in the state, including these that you see here, including Austin, and let's see who else we got up there, Laredo and San Antonio. The finance team here researched the reference municipality websites and their corresponding ordinances to calculate the bills shown on this graph. Our plants currently treat 16.2 million gallons a day, representing 59% of the total capacity. Once the plants hit 75% of capacity, BPUB will be required to start designing for expansion. At 80%, BPUB will need to be ready to bid the project out. BPUB has 169 lift stations and wet wells throughout the city that push the wastewater to the plants. These lift stations require significant maintenance. On average, BPUB will spend between $5 and $6 million annually to rehab the lift stations. BPUB owns and maintains 14 bio-air systems that treat orders from the larger lift stations. The wastewater utility is also very capital intensive, and the 5-year capital improvement plan for the wastewater utility is approximately $69.3 million, and the wastewater system generates $35.8 million in gross annual revenues. This is a slide which shows some of the new water source opportunities, and here we list them up here, including direct portable reuse, SRWA optimization, and SRA expansion. It's also worth noting that what we have recently done is engaged new generation or new gen strategies and solutions to help us begin the process of updating our cost of service and rate study to be used in supporting and preparing the rate schedule proposal, which we hope to be able to provide to this board for its consideration by the close of this fiscal year. In conclusion, other neighboring utilities may have different rate structures, financial policies, and cost recovery mechanisms. Setting rates should focus on maintaining safe and reliable service with long-term sustainability rather than simply aligning with what other utilities charge. That concludes my presentation. And the same presentation will be made to the full board at its May 2026 meeting. All right.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Now, just a point. I have to run off to a meeting in 5 minutes, so
Yeah,
this
we-
last
Yeah, let's finish this last one then,
thing, if we can go.
because
quick.
Geraldo had to log off.
Yeah.
Okay, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation on PUB's cross-connection control program cost savings and building internal capacity and capability initiative.
Just the title is going to take long, huh? Good afternoon. My name is Sergio Delgadillo, Division Manager for Administration, report to the HR Division, and I'll be presenting this topic.
Quick.
I'm condensing ideas really quick. So I'll start with strategic alignment. So this initiative directly aligns with two key pillars, which is building resiliency through an effective asset management, improving water quality. Cross-connection control program protects our water distribution system, strengthens reliability in our systems, and reduces operational risk. So I'm jumping a lot of the pages.
Right, basically, it doesn't allow water to go backwards into the pipes, which is extremely.
That's exactly what it is. And in Texas, public water systems must maintain a cross-connection control program under the rules of TCQ. And of course, this is exactly what you just mentioned, is to identify hazards, conducting customer service inspections, requiring backflow prevention assemblies, ensuring certified testers go and perform those tests, and of course, enforcing some correction actions as well. So exactly what you mentioned is exactly what that is. It's very simple. It's any actual potential link between a potable water system and a source of contamination. So on that right, a diagram that you see, you can see that there's a lot of potential hazards that can come into our lines. And what this program does is that it goes and literally inspects every single customer, commercial and residential, to ensure that those risks are not in there. And if they are, to mitigate those risks. If pressure drops, a main break, firefighting issue, heavy system demand, the water can reverse, and that could potentially create a backflow that would contaminate or pollute our drinking water system. So of course, this is not just about complying. It's about really public health. It's about making sure that we have great water quality for our customers. Just to provide you some background, I'll give you a little bit of context. This program runs on a 10-year cycle. That means that every 10 years we need to inspect every single customer that we have. Roughly, it will take around 5,000 inspections per year. Our current capacity, it's around 2,500 inspections. We had some support from a contractor. We had around another 2,500 inspections being conducted. But there is really today a gap, since we stopped services of that contractor in 2024, in between our goals to comply with this program and the capacity that we have internally to do so. So of course, this is not just for a technical requirement. We want to make sure that our community continues to receive safe water, and that it's a very reliable drinking source for them. So again, this presentation is about building that capacity and capability, and that's where I'm here today. So the question is, do we build internal or do we build external? And what I want to talk to you is about strategic opportunity. By developing internal capacity, rather than relying on outsourced support, we do not only just see savings, but we also build our staff and we prepare for tomorrow. And I'll talk about savings in the next slides, just really quick. It's more about staffing levels. It's about, again, building a sustainable organization capacity and creating knowledge, expertise, and that capability. We believe that if we can add 2 members, we can maintain the inspection and testing schedules, as I just mentioned. We can improve record keeping and documentation. We can respond faster to compliance issues. We can conduct some outreach and customer education, reduce that backlog and any future risk. And again, it creates resiliency for the future. We create a proactive program with trained personnel, a strong process, and operational depth. Talking about the analysis really quick, you can see on 2 sides, one, it's BPUV's cost, that it's an actual fully loaded salary, including the max it would spend on even health benefits, just to clear the most ugly picture on our side that we could provide. And then on the right side, you're going to see the actual historic baseline for the contractor from 2024. And even with the 2024 number versus our current number, there's around $30 savings per each inspection if we go with internal staffing. Now, moving to the financial analysis, when we update that cost by 3%, which is the same amount that we're using to estimate our net value savings in the long term, we see that we're competing at 106 versus 6933. That's around 52% less per inspection. We also would increase our capacity to 5,708 inspections. And we are estimating, again, net value savings of a little bit above $500,000. And that's with a 4.5% discount factor. So again, this is not just simply an added expense, it's an operational investment that generates recurring value. We can definitely direct those savings into technology, equipment replacement, and water quality initiatives.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think we're good. I mean, you've done a really good job, and it's really spelled out very well on the slides. So are you recommending 2 positions in internal?
We are, sir.
Yeah, I would entertain a motion to approve that.
I definitely think it's a great idea. I have actually dealt with our contractors, and I remember them not really understanding what they were doing, so I am all for that. I have to run off to,
Do you want to make a motion to?
oh,
We
Do
have
we-
to
we
adjourn
don't
the
have-
meeting, and because of, we lost Gerardo, and so you are the
well,
quorum.
we can't approve anything anyways. But
Right.
yeah, I support bringing this in front of the board.
We can continue conversations, but not as a meeting, conveyed meeting, just with you.
I don't understand, Mary.
We lost our quorum.
We lost our quorum, there's only 3, there's 2 here.
Yeah, I'm
Right,
leaving.
so we're about to, this is an advisory committee. If your recommendation is to proceed, and would this be a budget amendment? Is that what you're asking for?
It would be to include 2 FTEs, and of course, the request was taken to consent.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Sorry about cutting it short.
We have
Appreciate
one
it.
more item, so at this time, that's what is, the recommendation would be from council is to terminate the meeting, and we will update you later.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm
Motion
gonna
to adjourn?
the meeting. We have something on closed session, but we don't have a quorum, so we'll wait
Correct.
till next month. Motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.